Cool. So, hi everyone. Welcome back to Android Study Jams. This is Aditya, and today we'll be completing session 2 of the track. Um, as a reminder, this track is for people with prior programming experience who want to learn how to develop Android apps. So, we'll wait just 1 or 2 minutes. Until then, let's look at why you are here. Why are you interested in building Android apps? So, like, is there a new app idea in your head, or like you just want to explore a new domain, or like you just want to learn something new? If you're cool with sharing, just drop in the chat box. We'll start in just a minute. No one? Okay, make my own birthday reminder app. Hey, you can do it with calendar, no? Okay, you want to make your own. Cool, you can do it. Uh, Anyone else? I started with like um cool. So we'll start. Okay, before starting again, we'll try to keep the session as interactive as possible. So like in case you guys have any doubts or anything to ask, like just drop it in the chat box and we'll be more than happy to help. Um So one more thing, like try to attend the session till the end, because at the end we'll be having a quiz, and depending on the number of question you answer correctly, you will be getting points. So you'll be getting points on our DSC NIE leaderboard. So like try to attend till the end and listen attentively. So there are some prerequisites. I'll discuss them again. So any prior programming experience in an object-oriented language is recommended. You should be comfortable with using an IDE. Either be it any IDE, it's okay. Familiar with navigating GitHub. You should have an Android Studio installed on your PC. You need a connection, internet connection, and an Android device and a cable. So again, the last part is optional, because like if your PC has enough RAM to run both emulator and Android Studio simultaneously, just go ahead. Otherwise, like you'll need a cable and a device. So in session one, we accomplished a lot. We had a look at these topics. Okay, one more thing. Like even if you are yet not comfortable with Kotlin, don't worry. Like with more practice, you will be comfortable with it. It's really a cool language. Like trust me on that. For these basics Android apps that you'll be building, uh, yeah. So for these basic Android apps that we'll be building, we don't need to know Kotlin in that depth. So, I mean, it's not a thing to worry about. Cool. So any doubts from session one if you have? So today we'll be building a DiceRoller app, which is basically when you click a roll when you click the roll button, it generates a random number and displays an image of a dice according to the number generated. So here, if the number generated is 6, it will show a picture of a dice with 6 on top. So I'll just show you the end product that we'll be building. Um, so this is I'm sharing my phone screen. Um, why is it? Okay, just a second, wait. So I'm sharing my phone screen. What? Yeah, so this is my phone screen. I'll just show you the app that we'll be building. Um, so this is the app. When you click on roll button, it will generate two numbers completely independent of each other and like display image according to them. So like we keep clicking roll, and if you click reset, these images will disappear. So we'll be building this. Cool. So let's get straight into the concepts. So we'll be using Android Studio as our IDE. So it is the official IDE for Android development by Google, and it has a lot of extra functionalities which in a normal IDE you won't get. So you have these layout editors and lots of templates. We'll have a look at it. And Android Studio is used by most of the uh, professional Android developers. So we'll be using this. Have a look at what is layout. So a layout is the basic structure of an Android app, basic structure of for your UI. So we'll be looking at that. And in Android, everything is element. So if you want to add just a second. So if you want to add a text to your element, to your UI, you can't just write the text and it will appear on screen. So you will have to use a view that is named as text view. So it's an element. If you want to add an image, you'll have to use a view called image view. If you want to add button, you'll have to use button. So everything is element in Android. And to combine views, so if you want to use many, not just one view, more than one view in your app, so a combination of views are called view groups. So there are different types of view groups in Android, like frame layout or linear layout or constraint layout. So suppose you have to use just one view, we use frame layout. If you want to use like arrange your views in a row or a column, we use linear layout. Uh, or if you have to arrange your views in a more complex manner, you'll use constraint layout. In this session, we'll be using the linear layout. Then we'll have a look at how to define these elements in Android, and we'll also look at some of the basic components in Android. So we'll have a look at activity. So an activity is how a user interacts with your app. So there are web pages, right? So an activity is the same as web pages in Android. So a web page is equal to activity. Activity handles all the things in the background, like it creates a window and loads your UI in that window, and all of those things are handled by activity. Then we'll look at resources. So all the static content that our code uses, or the additional files that our code will use, are known as resources, like the layout files or the images or the strings and all those things. Then we look at Android manifest. So every Android app must have a file named Android manifest.xml. So it's like you have in your books, you have index page, right? Think of an Android manifest XML file the same way. It contains all the important information about your app. All of those are stored in Android manifest.xml. So we'll look at that, and then Gradle files. So Android uses a build automation tool, that is Gradle, to automate and manage build process in your app. So we'll look at Gradle files. Cool. So let's get straight to it. Uh, so again, I'll just drop this link in the chat box. Just go to it and we'll start. What? So go to this link, click on start course, and we'll start. So also first sign in. Don't forget to sign in. I've already signed in. So click on start course. Okay, my internet is a bit slow. Click on explore. Let's complete the first pathway. Click on explore. Why is my internet so slow today? So our first activity is to install Android Studio. So I guess we all have already installed Android Studio, right? Because we had like sent emails and like put on Discord and all. So I just we just take this code lab and click next since we have already installed Android Studio. Yeah, so it has all the instruction on how to install Android Studio. Click next, and then okay, my internet is really slow today. So let's get started with the second code lab. Just bear with me, guys. Like, I don't know why is it slow today. So in this activity, we'll learn how to build a basic Android app in Android Studio, how to create Android project from a template, how to find major components of Android project, and how to run Android app on an emulator or on a physical device. So we'll be creating this app which just says hello world because it's like compulsory to start with hello world, right? So our first task is to open Android Studio, click on start new project and all those things. Cool. So now go to Android Studio, open Android Studio. I already opened it. Click on file, click on new and new project. Okay, so this, okay, I'll have to add the template window. Cool. So this would be the window that will appear on your screen. So this is the project template wizard. So like suppose you are creating a social media like app or something, right? So you will obviously start with a login activity. So here Android Studio provides you with a lot of templates. So if I click login activity and click next, Android Studio in the background will generate a lot of codes for me. So it's basically there to give you a head start in your project. For now, we'll start with empty activity because we are not doing that much than just displaying hello world. So click next. Then we'll be naming our Android app. So Android app. So let's name it hello world. There is package name. So package name. Every Android app on Google Play Store should have a unique package name. And so the common convention to name a package is the company's domain name in reversed order combined with the application name. So suppose you have suppose a company like Instagram is creating an app. So the package name would be com.instagram and then combined with the application name they'll be creating. So since we don't have a domain name yet, we'll just go with com.example.helloworld. Then there is save location. Just set a location according to your uh, so just set a location to save your project files in. We had already discussed like Android native Android development could be done with two languages, right? That is Java and Kotlin. So for this project, we'll be using Kotlin. So select it. Then there's minimum SDK. So minimum SDK determines that what the lowest version of operating system, Android operating system, our app will be able to run on. So here we selected Android 4.4. This means like all the Android devices running Android 4.4 or above will be able to run this app. So anytime if you have trouble selecting what API label you should use, just click on help me choose and you will have a pop-up with, just a second, and yeah, so you will have this pop-up with all the different Android platform versions and the cumulative distributions. So here we have selected KitKat. That means that 98.1% of the devices, all the devices running Android Studio would be able to run our app. If we select Android 10, that is API level 29, only 8.2% of the Android devices will be able to run our app. And so you will have to select it according to the functionalities that you need in your app. So let's just close this one for now, and then click finish. Okay, it is freezed. I'll just a second. I don't know what is wrong with the. Okay, it's there now. Okay, I'm live now, right? Okay, I'm live now, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Sorry everyone, my internet. So my screen just freeze. I don't know what happened. Huh, cool. So we'll continue. So this is the, just a second. So we have done our first activity, that is like create an Android app. Yeah, so we have completed this task, create a Hello World project. Now we have to run it. Okay, so the next task is to explore Android pane, Android Studio. Oh, sorry. Next task is to explore Android Studio. Okay, so we'll just go back. Yeah, so this project pane is not selected by default. You will have to select it. So just okay. So your project pane is not selected by default. So just select it. This is the project pane. This is where you can navigate through your project code files that are there in your and that Android Studio has generated for us. So there are different ways in which you can navigate through your Android project files. So by default, it's selected to Android view. Right. From this drop down menu, you could also go do project. So project is the way in which the project files are actually stored in the Android Studio file system. So in your file system. So in your computer, this is actually how your app files are stored. But when you click to Android, what it does is it separates all the backend and front end parts and all the resources and all those things separately. And so we'll be using the Android view because it's a lot more easier to navigate through. Then there is this layout editor. So here you have this palette where you can just drag and drop elements. Like if I drag button and add here, you can just drag and drop elements and it will generate all of the codes for you in the background and all. Cool. So now let's navigate through the project structure. That is, first is app. So app folder has three separate folders. First is manifest, then Java, then res. First, let's explore what is in Java. So in Java, you will find the Kotlin code. Whatever backend codes that you'll or classes that you'll write in Kotlin will be there in this project folder. That is com.example.hello world. So there is a reason why Kotlin code is stored in the Java folder. It's because like uh, it's because of the historical reasons, because earlier like Java used to be the official language for Android development. Now it's Kotlin, and so to make it compatible with Java, like to mix Java and Kotlin codes, that's the reason why they are storing Kotlin code in Java. So these two folders we don't need yet. These are there when we need to debug our file or project or test it. Then we'll need to navigate through these folder, which is not in course of these sessions. So we'll just ignore it. Yeah, and we'll also not like do anything with these folder. So all classes, other activities that we'll be creating will be stored in here, java.com.example.hello world. Cool. So then there is the res folder, which has all of the resources, whatever resources or the static content that we'll be using in our app, like the images or the layout. All of those things are stored in here. So first is drawable. So every image, all the images or all those things we store in the folder named drawable. All the layout, that is the front end part of the activities. The back end part is main activity.kt, right? The front end part is stored in activity main.xml files. Those are layout files. Those we store in the folder known as layout. Then in map we store the app's icon. So the icon is stored in map folder. So if I click launcher.png, you see here this is the icon by default that Android Studio has generated for us. We can change it and then like specify what app icon do we need to use. Cool. So in values folder we stored values like strings or colors and all those things. We'll explore these things later. So after that we have manifest folder. We have already discussed Android manifest.xml, right? So we have Android manifest.xml in the manifest folder. So let's look at the Android manifest.xml. So as I said already, it's like the index page of your book. It contains like on index page you have chapter name and the pages, right? In the same way, all the important informations are stored in the Android manifest.xml. So here you could see what icon the app is using. We are specifying here the label, the app name, the what type of icon it's using or the theme, all those things. And then all the activities that are there in our app, we'll have to specify them one by one. So for now, since we have just main activity, that's a main activity, so it's there. We start with activity tag and then attributes, that is main activity, and then the intent filters. Cool. So whenever a user taps on the app icon, we need to specify in Android manifest.xml that what should happen whenever a user taps on an icon. So we'll have to specify like what activity should get started first. So since main activity is the activity that should be starting whenever we click on the app icon, we'll have to specify it here. And these action and category agree tags are doing the same. It's telling the Android manifest.xml that okay, this activity is a special activity, and its purpose is like whenever a user clicks on the app's icon, this is the activity that should be launched. Other activities when we create, those activities will be all those codes will be automatically generated here, which Android Studio will generate for us. So if we use other activities, it won't be, we'll have to like write these codes ourselves, but Android Studio generates it for us. Cool. So now let's look at what is the next task that we have to complete. So we have explored the project pane. The app folder we have already explored. The rest folder we have done it. Manifest folder. Cool. So we have done all these things. So any doubts still here? Sorry. So the next task is to explore Gradle script folder. So let's look at it. Cool. So the Gradle files build automation tool. So we write scripts there, and Gradle like automates all the tasks for us. So in case you want to edit those script, so there are two build.gradle files in Android, as you can see here. The first is build.gradle project level build.gradle and module level build.gradle. So since our app is not a lot complicated, when you like do a lot more complicated apps, you will have more than one modules. Okay, so for each of the modules there is build.gradle file. So project level build.gradle file, let's open it. So project level build.gradle file is there, so that it contains all settings which you want to like change for all of the modules for one at once. So here you define settings which are common to all the other modules, and then there are module level build.gradle files. So if you want to specify settings for a particular module, you do it here. So you will look at these later. It's not as much important as for now. Okay, I'm freezed again. What the? So the next task we have is we have to run our app on a virtual device. So to run your app on a virtual device, there are two ways in which you can run your app. Either use an emulator or use a physical device. So if you want to run your app on an emulator, you'll have to click on this drop down menu, then click on AVD manager, and then you'll have to click create virtual device. I'll have to add the window. Cool. So here you'll have to click on create virtual device. I don't have to do that because I have already added Pixel 3a, but you will have to. So like to add a device, you'll have to click create virtual device and select a device, and it will then download the emulator according to whatever device you have selected. Cool. So let's close it. Now the other way is you could run your app on a physical device. So to run your app on a physical device, so if you're using any latest version of Android device, like anything, specifically speaking, anything, if your device is running Android Jelly Bean or above, you'll have to enter a cheat code to enable developer features. So I'll just show you how to do that. Mm. So yeah, so this is my phone. So you'll have to go to settings, scroll down, click on about phone. Okay, my phone is not visible, right? Yeah, yeah. So you'll have to go to settings, scroll down, click on about phone, again scroll down and click on build number 7 times. So since I have already enabled developer features, I don't need to. So if I click on it 7 times, it will say no need, you are already a developer. But if you are doing this for the first time, it should say click 5 more times or 4 more times, and at the end it should say like congrats, you are a developer. So like after clicking on the 7 times, go back, click on system, click advanced, and then you should see developer features here. Now if you click on developer options, scroll down and enable USB debugging. Sorry, so make sure to enable USB debugging. So now when you connect your phone with your laptop, your phone should have a pop-up asking you that do you want to enable USB debugging with your device. Select yes, and then your device should be visible here in your Android Studio under running devices. So now when you click on this drop down menu, your device should be visible here, running device under running devices, HMD Global Nokia India. That's my phone. It's visible here. So I'll repeat this again. Scroll down, click on about phone, again scroll down, click on build number, and click on build number 7 times. It will say you like congrats, you are now a developer. Click on system, click advanced. You should have developer options enabled. Scroll down and then enable USB debugging. Cool. So now when you click on this drop down menu, okay, my drop down menu is not visible, right? So there should be a drop down menu here which should show running devices, and then running devices you should have your device listed. Select it and then just click play button. So now if I click play button, this should, like Android Studio has the background generated all the necessary codes for us, so we don't need to like do anything. So here if you look at the design, you have already hello world, right? So if I just click, just a second. Cool. So now if I click on play button, this app should run fine. So I'll just screencast my phone as well and show you how it runs. So if I click on play button, so now Gradle in the background will do some things for us. Like here you could see Gradle is running, and it will like generate APK file and like install. All those things will be managed by Gradle. We don't have to worry a thing. So it will just take some time. It's just still running. Since I'm like running the Android Studio, my OBS and streaming and all those things, that's why it's taking a bit. It's taking time. Normally, it just takes like 5 to 10 seconds. Cool. So while it runs, let's look at what are the next tasks that we have to do. So we have run on a app on a virtual device, run it on a physical device, and cool. So there is a coding challenge in which we have to like change the string hello world to display happy birthday. So you have to do this on your own. The summary, we learned all these things. Cool. So we have a homework, that is we have to change our app's name to my DiceRoller. So now if you see, the app name is hello world, right here. If you see, we have to change it so that it displays my dice roller. So how do we do that? So as I've already said, like all the useful information about Android is displayed in is there in Android manifest file. So to change the app name, let's go to Android manifest and let's look at where our app name is stored. So right now our app label is Hello World. We have to change it to display my dice roller. So it says that our label is stored in resources. At the rate means resource. So it says it's stored in resource, that is, it says that our app name is stored in a resource, that is string, which is there in the string resource. So let's go to the string resource. We click on res values, and then we have strings.xml, right? So we click on strings.xml, and here we could see like our app name as an object is defined here, hello world. So we need to change it to my dice roller, my dice. Now if we run our app should show, instead of hello world, its type should be my dice roller. So let's just run it again. So it will take some time. Yeah, it's installed. So you could see here, right, from hello world it now shows my dice roller. Cool. So any doubts still here? Let's look at next tasks that we have to do. Let's click on done because we have done this activity, obviously. Now there will be a quiz that we'll have to complete to earn a badge. So for each pathway there is a quiz you'll have to complete and earn a badge. Okay, it's really slow today. Cool. So the first part, for the first part, I'll just show you how to attempt the quiz. Let's just click on take the quiz, and you know what? Let's just leave this browser as it is. It's lagging a lot. I'll just show you how to make the app, and like you guys like complete the pathway on your own. Cool. So since we have to make a dice roller app, so first we had like okay, it's there, right? Okay, so let's just complete the first quiz at least. So the question is, DAS and DAS is an integrated development environment for IDE use or IDE used for building Android apps. So it's obviously Android Studio. Sorry, Android and then Studio. What is the name of the auto-generated file in the new project you created with Android Studio? Or auto-generated layout. So with every activity we create, Android Studio automatically generates a layout, that is activity main.xml for us. The Android manager.xml file contains important information that an Android system needs to run your app. Choose two from the following list that should be defined in Android manifest.xml. Cool. So as we have already discussed, it contains all the information about all the activities and permission. It doesn't contains image resources. Those we define in the layout, and string resources as well. So we're good to go. In Android Studio, which tool do you use to create a new virtual device to run the emulator? we use AVD manager. The last one is a build automation system that uses a domain specific language to describe the app's processor. Okay, it's Gradle. Gradle is the build automation tool that we use to like manage, automate and manage the build automation tool. Just click submit, and you should have your result here, like you have scored how much, and then your badge as well, if you have like passed the quiz. Yeah, as you can see, you earn the Kotlin fundamentals sign in. What, I have signed in already, right? Oh, okay, I just closed it and opened it again. That's why. Cool. So let's now explore main activity.kt. Yeah, so let's now the backend part where we write the actual code, the Kotlin file. So we start with the package name. This line should be there in every class you create. And then import statements, like all the libraries that we'll be using in our code. And then we start with class. So like in programming languages, we need to define the entry point, the starting point of the code, right? In Android, we need to define the starting class. And so we start with main activity, the name of the class, then colon means extends. So here main activity extends another class, that is app compat activity. So whenever a class extends another class, we use colon. So app compact activity is a subclass of activity which is there to like provide us the backward compatibility. So which is there to provide backward compatibility. So like all the modern functionalities in Android, so those functionalities should be available on older versions of Android as well, right? So that's the work of app compat activity, to provide us the backward compatibility. Cool. So in every class we create, we start with constructors, right? However, in Android Studio, we start with a predefined function, that is on create, which is there, which will be overriding in every project, almost every project. So we do on create, and to override a predefined function, we use the keyword override. So the on create function, what it does is like inflates all the layouts and like displays it on the screen and all of the elements that we have defined in activity.xml. So it's on created all of the things that we need to do initially while running an app, or whenever this activity is inflated. Cool. So let's first, for now, let's just ignore this line. The set content view. So it's a predefined function in Kotlin, in Android, whose work is to first like specify what layout we'll be using in our app. So here this activity main activity.kt uses activity main layout file, right? So we'll have to set the name of the layout that we'll be using, that is r.layout, and then name of the layout. And the work of the set content view is also to like inflate all of the elements. So here we have hello world element. So the work of main activity the work of set content view is to inflate those elements and show it on the screen of your app. Cool. So let's now discuss the front end part, that is activity main.xml. So to write the front end part, we use a programming language that is XML in Android, which is a lot similar to HTML. So in Android, there is a hierarchy for, so suppose this constraint layer is a view. So every view inside another view is child, and the view which it is inside of is the parent. So here constraint layout is the parent view and text view is the child view. So we need to define the parent layout, which is a view group. So for this project, we'll change it to linear layout. Instead of constraint layout, we'll be using linear layout. Cool. So we use linear layout when we need to like display our elements in a row or a column manner. So like, if we don't need these constraints now, constraints are only for constraint layout. So by default, it's like by the orientation for linear layout is by default set to horizontal. So let's see if I like copy paste these elements would be arranged in a horizontal manner. I'll just zoom in. Yeah, so these elements would be there in a horizontal manner. Um, if you want to like display this in vertical orientation, in the layout, we define a new attribute that is orientation, and then we do vertical. So as you can see, like now our elements are arranged in a vertical way. So since everything is element, we use views in layouts. So we need to define a text view that should be in the middle of the screen and a button which when rolled so generate a random number. So let's just clear these codes and change this to, for initially set it to 0, and then define a function the button. So to add a button we just do button, and then the length on the width, height and the width of the button element. Let's set it to wrap content. Wrap content is what wrap content means is like it sets the size of the view according to need. So here, since we have set wrap content, the text view will automatically change its length, height and width according to the text. So if it has a longer text, it will change its width according to that text. Now we need to define the text for the button. Let's do it to roll. Cool. So that's it. Now we need to change like this. These view groups should be visible in this on the center of the screen, right? So for that, we add an attribute to the linear layout first. Like this whole thing is a linear layout, the parent layout, right? So it should be in the center. So we define for that we use gravity. So we do gravity, the layer gravity, and then we do center vertical. So what this does is like it centers the view group vertically. In this text view we also need to like center it. So here also we do gravity and center horizontal, because we need to center it horizontally. And for button as well we do the same. We just copy this line and paste it. Cool. So now these elements are like centered horizontally. We need to change this to wrap content, and let's change this to wrap content as well. Cool. So now the button and the text is visible in the middle of the screen. So this text is for right now it's a bit small. So let's change text size. We do text size equal to 30 sp, and it's a lot better now. Cool. So yeah. So any doubts in this layout thing, just ask. I'll move on, but like if you have doubts, just ask. I'll answer. So now these elements that we have created, we need to get a reference in the backend file, our activity.kt file, to change it according to. So whenever the user clicks on the roll button, this text should be changed, right? So for that, to get a reference to each of these elements uniquely, we'll need to define an ID to these elements. So for text view, we do ID, and we name it any ID, like it should be unique throughout all the elements of your layout file. So here we just let's do a roll number, and we'll also need to give an ID to the button. So we do ID, let's do roll button. Cool. So now we have a unique name for this element so that we can get access to it in the main activity.kt. Now in main activity.kt, first we'll need to store these elements. So whatever elements we need to get a reference to, we'll need to store that element to a variable. So here we do var, we create a variable. Let's first do roll button equals to, so there is a predefined function in Android that is find view by ID. What was the name of the thing we find earlier? Roll text, right? So it's already there. Roll number. Okay, it's button. Yeah. So since we had a unique name, okay, we'll have to specify here the type of this variable, the data type this variable will be storing. So we'll do, since this is a button, we'll just do button. And press Alt Enter. Yeah, so here you should just print Alt and Enter, and it will like import the button library for you, and then this code just works fine. Cool. So now we have a reference to this button. So this button is now like an object which is stored in roll button. So all the functions and all we call to this object. We also need to get a reference to this text because we need to change it. So we'll just do var roll text view, since it's a text view, equals to, click on this red error and press Alt Enter, and it will import the library. Now click, we'll do again find view by ID. Yeah, so now we have the reference to both of these objects, the text view and image view. And now to change so now whenever the user clicks the roll button, we need to add a on click listener. So we need to add a listener so that whenever that button is clicked, we have some code that should get executed. We write some code that should get executed whenever the user clicks on that roll button. So for that, we need to set an on click listener. So on roll button, we do dot set on click listener. It's already there, and we do this. We do start with curly braces. So in previous session we already discussed, right? To pass a function to another function, we do curly braces. So in curly braces, we'll define our function, whatever the code that should get executed when the roll button is clicked. Cool. So let's define our function here. We do fun, and let's do button rolled, and let's copy this code, cut this code and paste it here. And now on roll text, okay, so Now whenever the button will be clicked, we need to state the function that will get executed. Button rolled. Cool. So now whenever the button roll button is clicked, this function, that is button roll, will get executed, and all the codes that are inside this function roll button rolled will get executed. So first we need to get the reference to the text view that we need to change. Then we need to get a random number. So in Android, to get a random number, there is a predefined function. We do var and do let's do random number. Since this variable will be storing int data type, we do int equals and do bracket 1 dot dot 6 and dot random. Um, so in Android, so in Kotlin, generate a range, there is this, we use this two dot dot. So we use this two dots. So to generate a range between 1 to 6, we do parenthesis and then the number to start from, then dot dot and then 6. Now there is this predefined function for ranges in Android, that is random. So we need to call this random function on this range, that is from 1 to 6, and what this will do is this will select a random number between 1 to 6 and store it in the variable called random number. So now we need to set text to this roll button, right? So what we do is we call the view, that is text view roll text dot, we do set text, and then we pass the what, oh, sorry. So here we'll do row text dot set text. Yeah, so it's there set text, and then we pass the string that we need to want to set to this text view. So we do random number, the int. Cool. So now what happens is whenever this button is clicked, we pass a function that should get executed whenever this function is clicked. That function we define here. First we start with storing the text view in a variable, that is roll text. Then we generate a random number using the random function that's already there in Kotlin. And then we do set text. We use this as an object and call function set text and then pass the string to it, that is random number. Now whenever I'll just run it on my phone, and whenever I click the roll button, it should generate a random number and then display it on the screen. So it's Gradle build running. Let's just wait a few minutes. Cool. So the app is already installed. Now if I click on the roll button, what? Just a second. Fun button roll. What have I done wrong? Roll text view find me by ID roll number. That element is the roll number, right? Yeah. Mm, Just a second. Okay, let's check the log and what's the error. Hmm. Yeah, so now it generates. I don't know what the issue was. Earlier we didn't need to like do two strings. I don't know why is it doing it now. Okay, anyways, so now it's working. When you roll, click on roll button, it generates a random number, and like changes it according to the, yeah. So it generates a random number and changes the text view. Sorry, according to the number. Cool. So now we need to display an image whenever, I think random number isn't, but text view was string. Okay, yeah, right. But like, mm, it's working, right? But I use it without converting it to string. Cause like in, just a second. Okay, yeah. So it should be string. My bad. Cool. So now we need to display an image according to whatever the random number generated, right? So first we'll need to add the image resources to our project. So in the res folder, we added to drawable. So I have already downloaded the images. Since my internet is not like working correctly, you just go to the pathway and there should be a link and just download the images from there. So wait, so yeah, I have these images. I'll just add it. So how to add image resources to your app? Click on drawable, right click. There should be a menu, and then click. So here I can't drag and drop and all. So just click on source and folders and add the images to your drawable folder. So in drawable, I'll just add it. Cool. So now it's there, right? When you click on, okay, my phone, I'll just, so yeah, so these images are there. Now we need to change the image according to the number. So for that, we are now, since we are now we're not displaying the number, we'll need to add an image view, right? So we go back to Android activity main, and from this text view, we need to delete it and add an image. So let's just delete it and do image view. Or let's set it, the width, set it to wrap content and height also to wrap content. And then we'll have to specify the source of the image file. So we'll do src. For that we'll have use src, and then automatically shows here, right? The empty dice or all drawable dice or whatever. For now, let's select the dice one. Cool. So here we have the image view, the roll button, and we need to center it. So we add another activity, that is we do it with gravity, layout gravity, and then center horizontal. Nice. It's now looking good. So we have added an image, a button, and we have like set all of those on the center of the screen. So here we'll need to change this text view, since we are not using text view anymore, to image view. So let's do it roll image, and then we need to change this to image view. We'll also need to give an ID to this image view. So here we'll need to do ID equals, let's do button image. These IDs could be anything. And we'll need to close it. Nice. Now we could get a reference to this image view in our inactivity.kt file. So here, instead of r.id.roll number, we choose it to roll image. And also we'll have to import the class image view. So just press alt enter and click import. The ID we have set to button image, right? Why have we set it to the button image? Cool. So now it's working fine. Now we need to have a switch statement which changes according to like whatever the according to the random number generated. So what we do is we use when statement, which is a switch version in Kotlin. We do when, and then we pass it the random number, and then we do curly braces. Nice. So now if the random number is 1, we do roll image dot set image tribal, and then we do our, okay, we do image resource, and then and parenthesis we pass r dot drawable dot dice one, because it's, yeah. So the same thing we'll have to do for all the numbers. So like for 1, it displays the dice image with one on top. For all of the others, we'll have to do the same. Mm, so we copy paste it 6 times and change this to 2, change this to 3, change this to 4, change this to 5, and then change this to 6. And then we'll need to change the resource as well. So we do 2, we do 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6. Cool. So now this when switch statement will change image according to the random number generated. So let's just try this once. We don't need this line anymore. Let's just run it and like if it's working or not. Cool. So it's installing. Nice. We have an image and a roll button. When I click on roll button, it changes according to the random number generated, right? Cool. So as I showed in the earlier video, we have two dice, and when we click on roll button, it should generate two random dice and roll according to it. So let's just copy this image view and paste it here. Let's just minimize it for now. Yeah. So we copy it, paste it again. Okay. So now the parent linear layout that we have defined is the parent linear layout that we have defined is the orientation of linear layout is vertical, but we need to display these two dice in a horizontal orientation. So what we need to do, we could define another linear layout inside this parent linear layout, and then add these two dice images to that layout, and then switch the orientation to horizontal. So here we could do linear layout, then width to wrap content, and orientation to horizontal. Cool. And let's just cut this tag and paste it at the after the second image element. Cool. So now it shows two dice with different images. Now, right now, these two, both of these image view have same ID. We need to change it. So let's do this one as second image view and this one as first image view. Nice. So our frontage is done. Here we need to add reference to both of the image views. So let's just copy and paste this one. This is for the first dice, and this is for the second dice. Find B by ID, here we have changed it to 1 and this to second. We'll have to generate two random numbers, so we do this 1 and just copy paste and change this 1 to 2. So for a random number 1, we'll have to do all these things. Let's just change everything to 1. And then just copy this one and paste it again for the second dice. In second dice, we don't pass random number 1, we pass random number 2. And here as well, we change roll image 1 to 2 everywhere. Cool. So now when the button is clicked, it should generate two objects first the button image 1 and 2, and then it should also generate two random numbers completely independent of each other, and then according to that random number it should set the image of our dice. Let's just run it and check if it's working or not. Cool. So now if I click on roll button, there should be two random numbers completely independent of each other. Yeah. So it generates, it's 3 and 4, so it shows 3 and 4. Again, we keep clicking it, and it just shows random numbers. So now the last part. We had a reset button as well, right? So when I click reset button, okay, instead of that reset button, since here we are copying this main statement a lot. So whenever you are copying and while developing a project, it's a bad practice. We should not follow it. So to change it, we should define another function so that we just pass it a random number, and it sets the image according to that random number. So what we could do is uh, to get random numbers, let's define a function get random, and we pass it nothing, and it just returns. Let's do this line, we define it here. Let's just copy it. This is to return bracket 1 dot 6 and then dot random. Cool. So now we have defined a function that is get random with this, like, take a random number between 1 and 6 and return it. So here we don't have to call it, we just to get random, and we do the same here as well. Okay, so we need to add a reset button here so that whenever it is clicked, both of these images should disappear. So we just go here and do image, sorry, we need another button, right? So we do button and wrap content and wrap content again, and the text should be reset, sorry. And let's give it an ID, uh, reset button. And we'll have to center it, right? So we do gravity, why is it not showing up? I don't know. Ah, cool. So it's now centered horizontally as well. So we have given it an ID. Now we need to get a reference to that object. So we go to on create, and we again do first let's get let's store that element in a variable. So we do var and then reset button, which is a button equals to find view by id r dot id dot, we had named it reset button, right? So we have reset button, we name it so now since we have a reference, now we need to set on click listener to this button. So we do reset button dot set on click listener. So we'll need to define another function whenever this reset button is clicked. So here we do fun, let's name it reset button, reset clicked, and then in parentheses now let's pass this function to here reset clicked. Nice. So now we'll have to define write the codes that should get executed whenever the reset button is clicked. So here we'll be first we'll need to get a reference to both of these images. So let's just copy these and paste it here, and then so there is something known as visibility in Android. So when you click on it, it says invisible or visible. So here we do role image1 dot set visibility uh, cool. So we call a function that is set visibility on the role image1 and set its visibility to invisible. Just copy it again and paste it for the second image, and let's do it too. And again, now when we click the reset button, both of the images should get disappeared. Let's play it again. Um, why is it not running? Cool. So now if I click reset, these buttons should disappear. So if I click roll button, it generates random numbers, and if I click reset, these images should get disappeared. So cool. So that's it for today. I'll add the quiz in the description if you guys want to uh, just attend it, and you'll get points in the NIE DSC leaderboard. Okay, my screen is again freezed. Cool. So we'll end it here. I'll just add the quiz